A British national has donated 2 brand new ambulances to the Yahya Ibrahim Niass Clinic of Kunkujankete. Ugandan authorities could soon declare measles outbreak in the country. Stay tuned to find out why. And Turkish philanthropists donated Ramadan food items to different communities in the Gambia. Well, this and more coming your way on The World Today. This is Eyeafrica TV, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin, coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. Now, the Yahya Ibrahim Niass Clinic and Dara of Kunkujankete in the West Coast region on Wednesday received 2 brand new ambulances from a British national, Dartin Hayden. Now, Dartin, who lost his father during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic in the Gambia, brings the 2 ambulances for the health clinic that supported his father during his time of need. He expresses gratitude to the people of the community for their good gesture towards his father and promised to support them in any form he could. Mariama Cham reports.
Central Alaji and the surrounding villages in terms of easy transportation of people with severe health conditions needing emergency support. It is said that one good turn deserves another, which encouraged Dartin Hayden, a British national who lost his father at the health clinic during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in the Gambia. He brought the 2 ambulances to the clinic as a way of giving back to the community that supported his late father during his time of need, to say thank you to the community for supporting their own until his demise. Dartin Hayden said he was inspired by the care and support the health center rendered to his father until his demise. He said his team traveled hours and days to get to the Gambia just to deliver to the people.
We thank Fatu for the help she gave my father, and we will try to help the community the best we can, but we need to know from you what you want from us. So we would like to speak to the elders later on, and we discuss what the clinic needs and what we can do to help. Father was Chris. You may remember him. He died here 2 years ago. Myself and my wife, we come from Wales, which is in the UK. Donald and Charlie, they come from Scotland. We travelled down with 2 cars. We spent 40 hours at sea on boats and 5,000 kilometers on cars driving on the roads. In 10 days of driving and 4 days on boats or rest days.
Dr. Ba, a gynecologist and the medical doctor at the health facility, said the hospital provides health services to more than 5 villages where people frequently receive their medical treatment.
Here to care for the poor, for the needy, and whoever comes to our clinics where we can give him basic medical attention that is needed in this community. Basically, in this community, we covering almost for more than 5 villages around. That's Kunkujang, and then the community takes it's almost how the Alcalde says it's almost about 100,000 populates that we are covering for, including boarding schools, which are Quranic boarding schools that teaches the Quran. All of them that comes here, and then we see them, we treat them, and free of charge.
Alaji Salif Sise, the Alcalde of Central Alaji, expresses gratitude to the donors, describing them as exemplary persons, and the donated ambulance will greatly serve the entire community of Central Alaji.
He says we are very happy
Come fasong ni ñu tok fi ci suñ kanam.
for you, the honorable guest, to be here today.
Ndax am ngeen njëriñ boo xam ne da ngeen ko andil suñu community bi.
Because you people are very useful to the community.
Ndax ngir dimbal bu nga xam ne ñu ngi ñu ko yéene pour defal ñu ko.
Which is a big help, and you desire to do it for us, and we appreciate it.
Kontaan nañ ci loolu torop.
We really appreciate it. Thank
Ndax
you.
gis ngeen diggante tali bi egsi fii.
From the tarmac or highway to here.
jigéen bu biir bu ñu teg ci sareet andi ko fi.
Every pregnant woman, if he is carried with a donkey cart or a horse cart,
wala nga jëlee ko fi ak sareet yóbbu ko ci tali bi.
or from here to the highway,
loolu nekk na coono bu mag.
for labor is a very, very difficult thing.
soo leen demee nag ba dugal seen loxo.
If you put your hands in this,
kon ñun community bi danañ leen wax ne jërë ngeen jëf.
in order to ease or to facilitate that activity, the community is saying thank you, people.
The residents of Sinthiou Alhaji and the satellite communities also expressed gratitude and happiness to the sponsors. According to them, the gesture will go a long way to address some of the health challenges the communities have been facing, including the lack of ambulances. The donors, however, promise to do their utmost best to keep helping the community, as long as they are aware of the challenges the health facility and the community is faced with. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
And let's stay with health-related matters, but this time in the eastern part of the African continent, because health officials in Uganda could soon declare measles outbreak in this African nation due to the gradual increase in new cases, especially among school-going children. Now, the country's health ministry is putting in place precautionary measures to avoid further spreading of the disease. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Health officials say tests done at the National Virus Research Institute returned 4 positive cases. These were from school-going children within the capital Kampala and Wakiso districts, areas that had suspended their measles vaccination last year due to the prevalence of Ebola in the country.
Based on the number of cases we've gotten, because they have now spanned over 2 months, we think we are on the fringes of declaring an outbreak because our threshold is 3 cases per location.
Measles is an acute respiratory illness that spreads easily and can cause serious problems, especially among infants. The ministry says it is taking measures to avert a crisis. In 2018, the Ministry of Health announced an outbreak of measles in 26 districts across the country. Officials say a reoccurrence is less desired for a country coming out of an Ebola epidemic.
And that health-related report is coming from the Ugandan capital, Kampala. Now, elsewhere in the continent, since the ousting of the country's long-term ruler in April 2019, Sudan has been engulfed in a growing political standoff, mainly due to the military takeover in 2021. The North African nation has witnessed waves of protest against military rule. Thus, negotiations between civilian pressure groups and the junta failed to yield any positive outcome so far. Now, some political analysts have, however, encouraged dialogue among stakeholders to avoid putting the country in a more fragile situation. Let's have more details of that in this report.
It's been 4 rocky years since the ouster of 30-year ruler Omar al-Bashir on April 2019. The 4 years have been a short-lived transition, civilian leaders and the military, that ended in a military takeover in 2021. Since then, the political situation remains uncertain.
The solution is to push more on the political stakeholders to form the government even if governance structures are incomplete. It can later be formed. The political gap and delays can blow the country and slide it into the worst scenarios.
The delays in reaching an agreement are just the latest road bumps in Sudan's efforts to resolve its long-running political crisis.
While progress has been made in negotiations between the military and civilian groups, an agreement to integrate paramilitary forces into the national army is yet to be reached.
The military says the integration of 100,000 fighters of rapid support forces needs about a year, while the paramilitary troops want at least 10 years to complete the process, a major issue that could hamper any political resolution if it's not solved.
The unification of the army is the cornerstone issue for a democratic transition. The situation has complicated and reached this point due to fundamental differences in visions regarding the national army and the paramilitary rapid support forces. The two sides need to build trust with the help of internal and regional partners in order to push the political process forward.
Pro-democracy groups have marched in the capital following the announcement to postpone the deal. The groups say more protests are planned if the military does not hand over power to a civilian rule. However, analysts warn that any further delay to resolve the political standoff means the country could be plunged into more chaos and undefined future.
This is Eyeafrica TV, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. And from that report there, we now take a break and come back shortly. There's more coming ahead right after.
TAF Africa Global is the first and biggest private estate developer in the Gambia and present in 7 other African countries. We take pride in leading innovation in all spheres of real estate sector in the Gambia and beyond. As such, we are launching the development of the first smart and modern office and retail towers in the Gambia called TAF Twins. The TAF Twins is located in the heart of the Kanifing institutional area and 10 minutes drive away from Banjul. TAF Twins is designed to have 5 floors of office spaces ranging from 50 square meters to over 1,000 square meters with 2 elevators, central air conditioning, 24 hours electricity and water supply, with the ground floor reserved for banking, supermarket, restaurant and coffee shop. For your bookings and reservations, please call now on 376-2333 or 776-2333. Thank you.
Welcome back. This is Eyeafrica TV, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. And once again, many thanks for joining us. Let's now look at the rest of the stories. Now, in a bid to support the most vulnerable during the holy month of Ramadan, a Turkish charitable organization called International Humanitarian Relief, in partnership with Al-Hatab Netherlands, has over the weekend donated food items to 400 families in Abuko. The donation is geared towards empowering the underprivileged in the community as part of a Ramadan food project. Mariama Cham again has more details of that in this report.
The International Humanitarian Relief Organization has been in existence in the Gambia for the past 12 years, and they have been distributing food items including rice, oil and sugar to support different families, especially during the holy month of Ramadan. Ramadan gestures in the form of food distribution are key in this holy month, as the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that when a person gives in charity, it increases their wealth and the reward of their good deeds. One of the persons behind this laudable food aid distribution initiative said, the organization wants to make the world a better place for everyone by supporting people, especially in the Gambia.
We are from the Netherlands, and what we do is, from the donation of the people from the Netherlands, we came to here, we met our brother Musa, and we get the chance to give people something back. We want to make the world better, and we are here today in Gambia to start with that. What inspired, what today like it's happening here, will tomorrow will be there. So we're trying to give people back because people need help over here. So what inspired us, also our religion, and it's just what we give people something back.
The over $2 million food aid extends support to over 1,500 families in different communities in the country. While commenting on its significance, the organization's country coordinator Musa Jallo gives a rundown on the expenses of purchasing the donated food items.
For this year, almost, if we looked at our volume this year for Ramadan, it's almost nearly $3 million that these people brought in to buy food commodities to make sure that at least these 1,922 families are happy.
The charitable organization does not only render assistance during Ramadan, but several families benefited from their benevolence during the pandemic, while health centers and schools were also constructed for local communities, and supporting eye care programs were also delivered at their disposal. The organization has been actively participating in humanitarian activities in the country for the past 12 years, giving out food aid to the most vulnerable families in different regions, especially in rural Gambia. The organization's food distribution is expected to continue in other localities in the country, including Jara, Pakaliba, Fonyi Jarol, and Kalaji, where the rest of these food packages will be donated to families. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
And from that report here onto our final story next, because amid the impact of the global economic crisis, Egypt has increased its food and fuel subsidies as part of government's initiated measures to minimize the public suffering. Now, the latest subsidy increment was captured in the country's 2023-2024 national fiscal budget following cabinet approval. Now, despite the state-initiated measures to cope the rising cost of living and high inflation, some citizens are still demanding for more from the authorities. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The Egyptian cabinet has approved the state budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, which begins in July till mid-2024. The newly released draft budget focuses on social welfare programs to protect its vulnerable population. Egyptians are reeling from the fallout from the conflict in Eastern Europe, which has led to record inflation rates, high external debt levels, and a currency that has been devalued 3 times in the last year, leading to a surge in prices. The 2023-2024 fiscal budget saw an increase in food subsidies by 20%, while energy subsidies jumped by 24%. Meanwhile, social welfare programs were allocated an extra 24%, and salaries and pensions are expected to climb by 15%.
If we look at the food and energy subsidies alone, they account for 10% of the total budget, and there is an increase in subsidies despite the budget deficit. Expenses are to be covered from expected high revenues of $100 billion in the next fiscal year from tourism, remittances from Egyptians abroad, and exports, which are gradually increasing.
Mohammed Atman, a father of 3 children, is shopping for his family in Egypt's capital. He says more subsidies are still needed at these tough times.
I benefit from the subsidies. Without them, I won't survive because my salary is very low. Subsidies cover part of the expenses such as buying bread, which is very important, but the subsidies are still not enough to cover the rest of our expenses.
The government has also established outlets countrywide to sell food and basic goods at lower than market price to support the predominantly poor population from the surging cost of living, which rose to a new high of 32.7% in March.
The real solution to inflation hikes, I believe, is to increase production and reduce consumption. The government is focusing on expenditure on investment projects to increase production, revenue, and employment opportunities. Secondly, to stop the devaluation of the pound, we have to increase exports because currently our imports are much higher than exports.
Cutting import bills will reduce the demand on hard currency and thus sustain the Egyptian pound from further slumps. Experts say these issues must be addressed at a faster pace. Otherwise, inflation hikes and the devaluation of the Egyptian pound will continue to be a headache every year.
Egyptian authorities there increasing fuel and food subsidies amid the impact of the global economic crisis. And that report there coming from the Egyptian capital, Cairo, now eventually brings us to the end of this news edition. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and to have a pleasant evening. Bye for now.